gentlemen, at this time, we would like to ask you to stand if you are willing and able for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. This is the June 14th meeting of the Clinton School Committee. This meeting is being held both in person and remotely in accordance with the Governor of Massachusetts' March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Section 20. This remote portion of the meeting is offered via Google Meet technology. Can we have at this time a motion to approve the bills?
So moved.
So moved.
And motion made and seconded. Thank you. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Could we have a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of May 24th?
So moved.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Motion having been made and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor? Unanimous as well. Thank you. At this time, we have public comment. There being none in person, Dr. Meyer, anything remotely?
Nope.
All right, we will close the public comment section for the time being and move to the best part of this evening, one of the best parts of this evening, a celebration of our retirees from the Clinton Public Schools. Dr. Meyer, would you like to tee that up?
Yeah, so I think what we'd like to do is invite the school committee to come down next to the table over there. We can probably slide that card out of the way. We also have Representative Kilcoyne here. We'd invite her to come on up and join you. And what I'll do is I'll read a brief paragraph about each retiree, and after we read your paragraph, come on up, and then you can get your plaque and your citation. Do you want to slide down so you're closer to hand those? All right, so we're going to go in alphabetical order. So that means our first retiree is Cynthia D., special education teacher at Clinton High School. We're recognizing Cindy for 27 years of service. Cindy started at CHS on April 4th, 1994 as a teacher in the alternative education program, and for the latter part of her career has been focused on teaching special education math. Cindy always helps to coordinate CHS faculty events like Spirit Days and luncheons. She's more recently served in the capacity as special needs department head. I also had the pleasure of teaching with Cindy back when I started at CHS. She's a dedicated teacher and a very strong advocate for her students. Congratulations, Cindy. Our next retiree is Denise Danini. Denise is a kindergarten instructional assistant at CHS. We're recognizing her for 22 years of service. Denise started at CHS on March 31st, 1999 as a reading assistant. She also worked as an instructional assistant in the kindergarten program. According to the CES administration, Denise is very creative and always festive and ready to decorate for each season. I don't think Denise could join us tonight, but we can recognize her anyway. It brings me to, ooh, we all right? Was that loud from that? Let's tell Morrison he made it too heavy. By the way, I should acknowledge that all the plaques that they're receiving tonight were made at Clinton High School in our technology department using their fancy new toy, their CNC router. So, our next retiree is Susan Giroux, middle school Title I reading teacher. We're recognizing Sue for 33 years of service. Sue started on September 15th, 1988 as an instructional tutor at Parkhurst. She was appointed as a teacher in 1995. She also worked as an integrated preschool teacher, a grade 6 resource room teacher, and a reading specialist, and she taught at Parkhurst, Clinton Elementary School, and Clinton Middle School. Sue has helped many students develop into fluent readers over the years. She's also known around the area as a talented singer and musician. Congratulations, Sue. Our next retiree is Diane Kilcoyne, Clinton Middle School Instructional Assistant, recognizing her for 23 years of service. Diane started on August 31st, 1998 as a special needs paraprofessional at Clinton Middle School. She's also worked as a resource room assistant, inclusion assistant. Diane has an infectious, cheerful outlook, which is evident from the time she enters the building in the morning until the time she leaves each day. Diane was a great teammate and spread her joy of working with children into every classroom she was in. Diane also loved taking pictures and was the unofficial school photographer, capturing many special moments at the middle school. Congratulations, Diane. All right, our next retiree is Wendy O'Connell, Clinton Elementary School Kindergarten Instructional Assistant, being recognized for 23 years of service. Wendy started on April 15th, 1998 as a reading tutor at Clinton Elementary School. She's most recently worked as a kindergarten instructional assistant. She's the Instructional Assistants Union Steward, so I have had many interactions with Wendy in that capacity. Wendy's always struck me as a very reasonable, solution-focused person. And according to the Clinton Elementary School administration, they will miss Wendy's cookies and her sense of humor and go-with-the-flow mentality. Congratulations, Wendy. And our final retiree we're recognizing tonight is Rosemary Solar, CHS Guidance Counselor, recognizing her for 15 years of service to the district. Rose started at Clinton High School on August 28, 2006 as a guidance counselor at CHS. She came to us from Burncoat High School in Worcester, where she was the Educational and Talent Search Advisor. Rose was instrumental in helping to get the food pantry started at CHS, which came to be a necessity the last year and a half. I've also had the pleasure of working with Rose for a year when she was first hired, back in my first stint at CHS. She's a hard worker, is always willing to go the extra mile to support her students and families. Congratulations, Rose. So once again, I'd like to, first of all, thank our technology department for making the plaques. There's a lot of detail that went on. They have like a maple inlay. They're really cool. I'd also like to thank Representative Kilcoyne for coming to personally give the citations to our retirees. And I'd like to just congratulate all of our retirees and thank you so much for your service. We do understand you might want to take pictures in the hallway or something. It's totally up to you.
Which teacher does?
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Meyer.
Jan.
Dave's all warm now.
I know. Do you want me to move with the next agenda item?
Yes, please.
All right, so now, under the superintendent's report, the first thing we have is a presentation from the Universal Closet. So a few years ago, and I know they're going to speak, I don't want to steal their thunder, but a few years ago, we were approached to start this the program where they donate funds to the Scholarship Enrichment Foundation to help us provide for the needs of students. And it's been a great program. Our guidance counselors typically have been the ones who work directly with the students to distribute the funds, but they're here tonight. Actually, Joel, we might want to move it closer so we don't get any feedback. And then if you want to turn it, you can turn it on if you want to. All right. And we'd like to call up our Universal Closet presenters here.
Leave this. Sorry.
My name's Tom Steele, and I actually live in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, but I was born and brought up here in Clinton. And always thrilled to come back. And I appreciate the opportunity to tell you a little bit about the origins of this, the Universal Closet. And we had a little trouble coming up with the name, but the original name came from the Unitarian Universalist Church, which was over at the park, which now is painted yellow. The steeple's gone, and it's now a Spanish Seventh-day Adventist church. The Unitarian Church, just a quick brief history, we were a breakaway church from the Lancaster Church. And the big name that came along with the Unitarian Church here in Clinton was Bigelow. The Bigelow family was part of the original Unitarian Church here in Clinton. Some of the families were Dr. and Mrs. McKay, the Bates family, Orrin Bates, the Steele family, of course, my father, Tom Steele, my grandmother and grandfather, the Milky family, the Pools. So there were a lot of families that back when I was a young boy were smart enough to get together and start this stock fund. And the stock fund grew. It was passed on to eventually my father. And when my father passed away, he passed this on to me. The fund we determined was for use only in Clinton, to help people in Clinton. For the past 3 years, we had started the Universal Closet. We usually donate $6,000 a year. That money is then taken by someone from the schools. They purchase clothing and other necessary items for your students, put them in the closets, and the students get the benefit of this. In Clinton, we've spent in the last 3 years about $385,000. So we've done, with this fund, I've been able to do other things. The Holder Memorial was a benefit, the painting of the church, the Unitarian Church. We donate money to every church in Clinton every year, approximately $5,000 to $6,000. And we hope to continue that as long as the stock market's good. That's what we do. The origination of this whole idea came from Phil DeCicero, who is sitting over here by my cousin Susan Steele. Phil had a daughter named Karen, and they have a closet in the Leominster school system called Karen's Closet. And so Phil gave me the idea, so why don't we do this in Clinton? And obviously that was the benefit of this. So we had plaques made for each school. There were 3 schools, of course, and I've got the plaques available here tonight that we want to present to the Clinton School Committee. And there'll be a check in the mail. There'll be another check coming to you, actually through Susan, when I leave this time. So that'll be our 4th check coming to the school system. And that's the story behind this. We're so glad to be a part of what's going on. Me not living in Clinton, but every time I come home, I come to Clinton. I was born in Germantown. This has always been a part of my heart. So we're really thrilled that we can do this for the citizens of Clinton. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joel, did you want a picture? Mr. Steele? Oh, don't get me in the back.
I would say, I remember when Phil first came and met with us to talk about this, and it was basically like, if I could get you $6,000 a year forever, would you think you could do something with that? And it was like, yeah, I think we could make that work. And it's been great. Like I said, our guidance counselors usually are instrumental in running the actual closet. And, you know, and I think the criteria was pretty clear. It's just got to be for the kids, you know, and that's great, because we definitely have, you know, there definitely are seasonal shopping trips, and they go to really help students who need it. So it's been a great program, and hopefully we can just keep working together. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tom, we'll see you.
So the next agenda item I had was just an update from the NIPRO Foundation, or an update we provided to the NIPRO Foundation. A few years ago, we had met with the NIPRO Foundation regarding a partnership with Mass Insight. So Mass Insight is really focusing on AP, access to AP classes, supporting AP teachers, supporting students. And so this is the letter we sent to them. I just figured as I was writing it, I should share it with you. We just completed year 2 of our 3-year partnership. So far, 10 of our teachers have been able to attend week-long summer trainings. 5 of our teachers have attended the annual 2-day workshop. We've implemented mock exams, basically practice tests for the students that they score and give them feedback, which has been gotten good feedback. We had students participating in Saturday study sessions, and something that came out of this was during COVID, obviously the Saturday study sessions became virtual, and what they found was they're actually getting better attendance at these study sessions when it was virtual, because they were hosted at different schools each week. So before you had to get on a bus and go there. So that might be something that actually, one of those things that stays, you know, COVID thing that stays. And we were able to get some new science lab equipment and English department books. So it's been very well received. You know, obviously it was tough because we were basically just kicking off the program. We were in our first year when COVID hit. We've still been able to work with them throughout COVID. Hopefully next year, which will be our 3rd year, we'll be able to you know, have a more normal run with it. And then after that, we'll probably continue working with Mass Insight, but probably at a lower membership level than we are right now, more of like a piecemeal, and we'll probably do that through Title IV funding. Right now, the NIPRO Foundation, for this first 3-year commitment, is not only paying, they're making 2 separate donations. They're making 1 donation each year directly to Mass Insight to support their work, and then they're making a separate donation to cover the Clinton High School program fee for Mass Insight. So we've got this whole 3-year partnership free of charge thanks to the NIPRO Foundation. So just wanted to, as I wrote this letter, I thought it was one of those things I should just remind everyone again. So
Thank you for sharing it, and thank you, NIPRO, for your continued partnership.
COVID-19 updates. So this is the last week meeting, I think, that we're going to try to make this a routine standing agenda item. I don't want to say it's the last time we're ever going to talk about it, because you never know. I don't want to jinx anything, but I think we're going to try to make it so there's no longer a standing topic that's automatically penciled in. You can see on June 10th, we dropped down to 0.8% positivity. 1 was our average daily incidence rate. That put us in the gray. So basically, we were in the lowest category. So we've gone, you know, from green a couple weeks ago to gray, June 10th. If you look at, there's the chart and the graphs, and you can see we're basically back down, you know, if not even lower than when this graph started back in August. So, you know, we saw that spike, and I think we're hopefully at the end of this, or getting close to it. So, so we'll talk a little bit more about what that means as far as we do have one policy that we'll bring up later under the policy committee regarding COVID later. Summer Boost and Acceleration Academies. So we did apply for a grant. The state is running these Acceleration Academy grants. We were eligible for, I believe it was $49,500 to run summer Acceleration Academies. We have applied for them. Now, the state is requiring that each one of these have to offer 20 hours of instruction each week, and teachers have to be paid $3,000 a week to run those courses. So they're trying to really incentivize teachers working over the summer. I know that was a concern that they had. So that's sort of the condition for the grant. You can see sort of the proposed plan. We try to run 2 weeks of the Summer Boost programming in August 2nd and 9th. They'd be from 8:30 to 2. We'd be able to serve them food because we are a summer feeding site now. And we'd try to run them for students who are entering K. So basically those those students who might have, those 4-year-olds who weren't able to maybe go to preschool, try to get them in a little bit over the summer, sort of a transition so they can get prepared for entering K, through students who are entering grade 9. Along with the grant, they're encouraging you to try to get sort of curriculum coordinators and site supervisors just to help run it. So those are included in the grant proposal as well. On the bottom, some other strategies still under consideration. So I actually have a meeting scheduled with the CTA later this week to talk about some of these. Still looking at the possibility of increasing the CES school day. Still looking at the possibility of maybe eliminating 5 half-days and replacing with 2 full days of PD, which would also extend the year out 2 days. And then looking at probably adding a late bus for the middle school and high school so we can support some after-school programming. So we did have reached out to D-Bus, and we'll be scheduling a meeting with them to go over the logistics and cost for those strategies. So nothing totally finalized in this. Right now, we're waiting on the final approval for the Acceleration Academy before we can get going.
Any questions for Dr. Meyer on the Summer Boost Acceleration Academy? Nope.
All right.
With that, and I know what you said, it's just a preliminary, is the, would there be a max of number of students you could take?
For the Acceleration Academy, we're going to have to, we're going to have to figure it out. I mean, I'm sure there would be a max, but I guess, I know last year we invited a lot of students to those Boost Academies, and people attended them, but it was not a real high success rate. So, no, we didn't turn anybody away last year. The only people that maybe got turned away last year were because we only had 1 or 2 kids that we couldn't run it for that grade level. Okay. So we're hoping that this year, if we can, we'll see what people's appetite is, and we'll do the best we can to fill all those sections. So we'll probably start with more targeted invitations based on student data and concerns, and then if we have spots, we'll kind of open it up more broad for people who have their own personal concerns.
Thanks.
Our next agenda item is a food service update. So our food service director, Mr. Vanass, is here today. You can go use the mic if you'd like, Mr. Vanass. And I just say that, I think we've all acknowledged that basically right from when this started, we were able to get food services up and running and going quickly, and it's really worked out. And I'll let him tell you some of the specifics here.
Thank you. Good evening, members of the school committee, Superintendent Meyer. Thank you for allowing me to provide you with an update on our budget.
Hold on a second, Dave.
Can you hear me? I'll try to make this quick. I'll try to do it in less than a half hour. Going back to 2019, we were running at a deficit due to the outstanding credit charges on students' lunch accounts. As of today, we are now financially solvent due to the recent support of the federal and state government's reimbursement programs. In the last 2 years, our free lunch program participation has increased 30%. We recently joined the Summer Food Service Program, which has increased our reimbursement rate to more than the National School Lunch Program rate. We had fed approximately 82,000 grab-and-goes meals to our community since March of 2020. We also have some exciting summer news. Starting Monday, June 28th, we will be offering deliveries to 3 sites: Lakeside Housing, Philbin Memorial Park, and Savage Field on Veal Street. We will also be offering the enrichment program grab-and-go lunches and the new Summer Boost program grab-and-go lunches at the middle school. We will continue to offer community pickups at our home facility, the Clinton Elementary School. The hours will be to be announced, but I think we're going to go from 9:30 to 11:30 for pickups at the elementary school. Different times at the delivery sites. We'll decide on that. So we'll stop at each site for approximately 20 minutes or so to pass out grab-and-goes. And it was a great success last year, too, so we're going to continue it this year. Due to the combined support of the food service department's efforts, increased participation, and increased federal and state reimbursement, it is projected that we will be financially solvent for the next 5 years. So to say the least, we're doing very well. In closing, I would be dismissed if I didn't mention my staff, the great job they've done. They went above and beyond since day one when Dr. Meyer said, okay, this is it, schools are closed, let's go. That Monday, we were all on board, we did our job, and we'll continue doing it. And especially for them, you know, they don't work in the summer, so for them to give up their summers to do it, I have to thank them. What a great crew. But we continue going to serve the lunches and deliver, and for people that really need it and can't get out and do it, we'll even do it with our, deliver to their houses with our new van. We can't rely on the school buses, the yellow school buses, because they have to, you know, give rides to their students to different towns, so that's where we're at. Everything looks good.
Well, thank you. Please extend our thanks to your
Thank you.
team for just the tremendous service to the schools and to the community.
Thank you.
Any questions for Director Burnett?
I have a question. Maybe it says- So the grab-and-go lunches, I'm assuming it's like just a sandwich and fruit or whatever?
We try to make it cold, but what we do at the end of the year, if we have anything that's left in the freezers, of course, we want to use it up. So if it's hot, it's hot. So we have been doing both.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we're doing, yep, we're giving the 5-component meal, the hot meals and everything. We have the packaging and everything, so.
So at the beginning of this coming school year in September, do you see us going back to a regular school lunch?
Well, here's the great news. They already said that we're going to be free for all next year for lunches, so.
So it'll be a sit-down lunch, it won't be a grab-and-go?
We've already transitioned a lot of them to, yeah, yeah.
Okay, maybe I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, oh, great.
Yep.
And we'll be, oh, that's right, all of next year, we're still going to be free, and then see what the next year brings.
Yep.
Oh, that's great. And I see the numbers have definitely increased since we've offered,
Definitely have increased.
The free.
Yes.
Great.
Over 30%.
that's great.
Everything's free, so
That's a great feeling to know that every
Yeah.
kid is being fed,
they are.
so,
That's what's important.
great.
Joel,
Yeah, please.
I just wanted to say thank you also. I had gone down to the school when you had all the coolers out, and the way you guys shifted, changed, made things work, you know, just, you got it done, and you did great. Thank you.
very much.
And I would say, once again, like your staff did jump right on board. I mean, that was, like I said, literally, we're shutting down, you know, we're closing the schools last year when everything first hit, and yet we're asking them to, you know, asking your staff to still come in. And then I remember that was before they even required masks. I remember the first day we came down, and I'm wearing like a T-shirt sleeve over my mouth because it was like, they just said we should be wearing masks now, you know, like it's come so far with that. And I know Shannon's here. I know Shannon, I'll give you a little shout out because you did a lot of van driving last summer, so that helped. But to Dave's point, they were able to purchase the food service van this year. So last summer, what we did was for the sites, we used our school vans because they weren't taking kids to school, right? Because now this summer, we're anticipating that the school vans will be in use. So the food service will have its own dedicated van to do their summer feeding, because we're now a summer feeding site for the next few years, regardless of, now that we're in that program, we get to do that, so.
Great,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you so much.
So the next topic I had was just the updates on where we are with the MSBA and the middle school. So at town meeting, the warrant article to fund the feasibility study was approved. In your packet, you have a copy of the wording of the warrant article and the wording of the motion. The motion is slightly different than the warrant article. It did include, they did make a last-minute kind of change to borrow that money. They weren't originally going to use possibly free cash, so it has some additional language that was added by the bond council, just so that they could make sure that it met borrowing requirements. So that was added. The initial compliance certification. So the first deliverable that's due to the MSBA from us is the packet in here. It's about 9 pages long. It's not really, it's more of a take it or leave it. Like, this is sort of what you have to agree to follow if you're going to work with the MSBA. It requires 3 signatures. It requires basically the town administrator, the superintendent of schools, and the chair of the school committee to sign this. So hopefully we can, I don't know if anyone has any specific questions on it. If you do, I can try to get you answers, but I think every school that works with the MSBA signs this document, and I think it should be okay to go. We did send it to Attorney Gibbons to review it too, just to make sure, and it's essentially what he said is that it's it's pretty much a template that you just you follow. Thank you. So, like I said, they said we don't need a formal motion for it. So I know Joel just passed down a copy that he signed, but I did want to make sure everyone was aware that this is what we have to sign off on, and that if there's any questions or if you have any concerns about specific parts of it, I can get back to you on what they refer to. A lot of it has to do with just sort of how we're going to do procurement, make sure we're going to hold open meetings, make sure, just basically that we attest that we're going to follow all the procedures that we have to follow anyway. And then my last update on the building committee is, on the MSBA, sorry, is the building committee. So according to the town bylaw, the way the town bylaw is worded is, and this was added, I believe it was added in 2013, so it was added after the last new buildings were built, right? So if we say something and people say, well, that's not what we had to do for the elementary school, or that's not what we had to do for the high school, they're right, because this was changed to the bylaw in 2013. And what it did is it created a permanent building committee, and that permanent building committee in town is charged with basically overseeing any project that is over $50,000. So it consists of 7 appointed members. Those are appointed by the town moderator, and 2 ex officio members, which is the superintendent of schools and the town administrator. So we meet on that committee anyway, like when we're doing other projects in town, if they're doing lighting or the splash pad or anything like that create meets and we approve the warrants and we accept the bids and we do that kind of stuff anyway. But what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create a building committee that's more inclusive for this project, right? So the building committee, the MSBA comes up with sort of a template of who should be on these building committees, including, school committee members, directors, the director of facilities, the usually you have some staff and some parent representation, those types of things, right? So we're in the process. We have until July 30th to form the building committee itself. And then as a town, you get to determine who's a voting member of the building committee and who's a non-voting member of the building committee. So right now, what we're working with is town council, just to have him review the bylaws, because I think right now, the way it's worded, the only voting members of the building committee would have to be the members of the permanent building committee. However, the one thing we talked about was, if that's an issue, if people feel like more people need to be included, before we actually get to any type of construction, we have another town meeting. So, I mean, if there needs to be a bylaw change or something put in there that says, the building committee has the right to appoint project-specific members or something like that, if we want to try to add something like that, we have time to do that before we would get to the actual construction phase of any project. So I think we're okay. I think we just want to make sure that I'd rather err on the side of caution and make sure we're not violating, we don't want to go against bylaw and have something, happen. The other thing is, once we submit a building committee, typically a building committee, it's going to be about a 5-year, 6-year commitment when you go from the beginning of the project to the end of the project. So it's normal for building committees to change. So to update the building committee is, we basically resubmit the paper and says, here's our current building committee. So it's not like it's a total binding thing, but we at least have to have a committee formed and sent to them by July 30th. So we're working on that, which kind of rolls right into the next thing. On July 19th, we're going to need to do the reorganization of the school committee, including, there's some you can see what we normally have for our advisory committees in here. One page has the 2021 committees and the blanks for the 21-22 committees. I'd say negotiations next year is going to be probably a heavy lift because we have all 3 contracts up, so that's probably going to be something that is meeting on a regular basis. And then, right now, it's listed as 2 different things. We listed as facilities and we listed as CMS building committee. Whether we want to make those could be the same members, those could be different members. It's, it's the pleasure of the board, I guess. But I think, what we would need to do is we would need to kind of appoint these subcommittees so that we know who the school committee representation on the building committee would be at the July 19th meeting, because I'll have to get that to the MSBA by July 30th. So, so I don't know. I think, Joel, I think typically you have them email you or something if they have interest in a specific committee.
So, I mean, think about the workload ahead, your availability for that workload, and your interest in these committees, and let me know, and we'll work it out, and we can get that to Mary prior to the meeting so that we're represented in all of these different areas. Does that work for folks?
Sure.
Okay.
Are there any other questions on the middle school or the building committee or that process? Okay. Thank you.
So I guess we're up to me then. All right, so it's evaluation time. And I'd like to thank the committee for their contributions to the composite evaluation report that you all have a copy of. And I won't read the entire thing, but I will say, I'll go through just sort of the overview that the following comments represent a composite of the individual summative evaluation documents, Dr. Meyer's self-assessment, Dr. Meyer's reflection on his goals, and other observations and interactions. Dr. Meyer has earned an overall rating of exemplary. This rating is assigned for consistent attention to achieving and exceeding his goals and the goals of the district improvement plan, as well as the consistent application of the standards of highly effective leadership. Throughout this evaluative cycle, Dr. Meyer has navigated the extreme challenges of the pandemic, balancing the needs of the community, the faculty, and most importantly, the students, to ensure that the schools continue to move forward. Through his leadership and the cultivation of his partnerships with community boards and organizations, the Clinton Public Schools were consistently ahead of the curve and ahead of other Commonwealth school districts. Dr. Meyer secured the funding to provide every student with a device to pave the way for remote learning and to provide every classroom and workspace with air filtration systems. Dr. Meyer developed a thoughtful and comprehensive plan to reopen schools in the fall and to provide teachers with the tools and training to transition to remote learning. Dr. Meyer worked with the food services team to provide consistent meals for students as well as the community. Dr. Meyer consistently demonstrated his commitment to two-way communication with families, allowing for the Clinton Public School learning plans to evolve as data continued to change, always with an eye toward serving the needs of all learners, particularly our most vulnerable learners. Dr. Meyer successfully secured a partnership with the MSBA, working closely with town officials to move rapidly from the eligibility to the feasibility phase of the potential middle school building project, with critical support from stakeholders. Dr. Meyer worked with the Board of Health, demonstrating a healthy and productive partnership for a unified approach to the pandemic. And Dr. Meyer enrolled in the Harvard Graduate School of Education's Leading for Excellence and Equity. I could go on and on, but in each of the standards, Dr. Meyer has overall been evaluated as exceeding those standards, and we are, as a board, are unified in our gratitude for the commitment and leadership that you continue to show for the Clinton Public Schools and for this community.
I'd say thank you. I think it's I don't know, it's a flattering evaluation, I guess, but it's also, the thing I would say is that none of the stuff that's referenced in there would have been possible if it weren't for the work that our administration's done this year. They've done an amazing job as we've kind of kept pivoting, changing things, and they work tirelessly this year. And then it trickles down from there. Then, their faculty and their staff, see the effort they're putting in their buildings. And I think it's just, it might be, I think obviously it's a positive evaluation for me, but I think it's overall that wouldn't be possible if it weren't a positive evaluation for the entire administrative team and the entire district.
Agreed, and I guess I would just say that that's typical of your leadership style and the inclusivity of your leadership style, and without question, there is a tremendous administrative team and teaching team and support network and partnership, but this is your evaluation, and we are grateful for your leadership and your leadership style. Is there anything else that the committee wants to add?
No.
Okay. All right. Did we have anything new from the curriculum committee?
No.
No. Safety?
We might have had a meeting in there, but no, not between, I don't know.
Nothing to report on.
Nothing, yeah.
Marketing?
We hope to have a year-end wrap-up meeting, possibly next week, we're hoping.
Okay. We'll come back to policies and procedures. Anything from facilities?
We were supposed to meet with myself and Steve and one member of the selectmen about and it was going to be today, and he had to change it at the last minute. So I
Okay.
haven't read an email this afternoon, but it'll be somewhere this week, and it's just to discuss those two buildings.
Yep. Okay. All right. So you have in your packet a policy, it's probably the last page, EBCFA, which is an update consistent with the MASC language on face coverings and masks. And so the policy it recognizes that they are useful when they are necessary, and essentially that the Clinton Public Schools will follow the guidance from the Center for Disease Control, DPH, and the DESE as needed. So this is a lot of the procedural pieces and justification for face coverings we didn't feel was necessary at this point. This policy isn't about teaching people about face coverings. It's just to update it so that we will be in alignment with the agencies as guidance continues to change and evolve.
I'll make a motion, we adopt that.
Okay.
Second.
So motion to adopt EBCFA as amended. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion had been made and seconded. Any discussion or questions? There being none, all those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Do we have anything from the negotiations subcommittee?
Not at this time, but we hopefully should have the final contract for the IAs at the next meeting, I believe. Yep.
Okay. Anything under old business? Anything under new business?
I have one thing under new business, if that's okay.
Of course.
So, as many of you know, Mary is retiring in October, end of
This
September.
committee chooses not to acknowledge that.
I will second that non-acknowledgement.
All in favor?
So, obviously knowing that Mary's been in this role for a long time and does such a fantastic job, there's so much institutional knowledge that she has. We knew this was an important position. We posted it early in March, I think, somewhere in there. And our goal is to have her replacement on board by July 1st, so that there's kind of a 3-month crossover so they can do training and all that kind of stuff. After going through that process, that Alexis, the HR manager, helped me with, included even doing a sort of a skills assessment that we could check with the candidates. We ended up offering the position to an in-house candidate, Kelly Santucci, who's currently a administrative assistant in the special ed office. She'll be moving over to the central office on July 1st to begin training to take over Mary's shoes. So she will, by the next meeting, July 19th, or whenever our next meeting is, she'll probably be sitting right next to Mary taking minutes, and then we'll have to compare them and grade them.
Well, let me be certainly not the first nor last person to say, Mary, thank you. Thank you doesn't seem enough to acknowledge the role that you play. It is significant, and I'm sure everyone who's ever sat in any of these chairs is forever grateful for all of your hard work.
Any other new business?
Okay. Oh, sorry. Sorry. All right. Anything else under new business? All right. Yeah, it's 7:53, so I can still officially call for adjournment.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Ready to go.
Made and seconded. All those in favor? We stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for a great, amazing year in the Clinton Public Schools.